Hi there folks, and welcome into the Truck King YouTube channel. Today we have a comparison of massive luxury SUVs. Right here, the 2025 Cadillac Escalade, and right there, the 2025 Lexus LX700h. And right now we're going to compare features, specs, power, price, and more, so make sure you stay tuned. Let's kick it off by looking at the powertrain. So first the Lexus, and this is new for 2025. We now have a hybrid power plant available here. So this is a 3.4 liter twin turbo V6 mated to a battery pack and electric motor. Total system output 457 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque, and that is sent through a 10-speed automatic. And then over here with the Cadillac, we still have a good old V8. That's a 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8, making 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque, and that is also sent through a 10-speed auto. Now let's look at the specific models we have here today. So this is the LX700h Overtrail, and Overtrail is also new on the LX for 2025. It's the off-road focused model, so you're gonna see some upgrades on here to that effect. First one you're gonna notice, tires. That's a set of open countries from Toyo, so a little bit more aggressive than what you're gonna find on the standard LX. 18-inch wheels there too, which are quite a bit smaller than what you find on the Cadillac, but for off-roading, that's what you want. Smaller wheel, more tire. Now, besides that, you're also getting front and rear locking differentials out of this Lexus, which is pretty cool. And this is not unique to Overtrail, but the LX still has a solid rear axle, where the Cadillac has moved to independent suspension all the way around. You're also getting quite a bit of technology inside to help you go off-road, multi-terrain select with all the different modes, and crawl control. So yes, unlike the Cadillac, which doesn't even really have sort of an adventurous off-road model, if you do really value the 4x4 aspect of these things, this Lexus will deliver. Now the Cadillac. So this is the Sport Platinum model, which we are looking at today. And for 2025, the nuts and bolts haven't really changed, but the interior and the styling exterior has all been revised. And you're now getting things like a set of 24-inch wheels. Those are an option, but yes, that's a nice big old wheel. And yeah, the whole nose here is different. So you know what? At this point, why don't you just drop in the comments and let me know which one of these two you think looks better. There's no doubt that to my eyes, that grille on the Lexus is a little bit more aggressive than on the Cadillac, but I don't know which one I'd pick based on styling. What do you think? Leave me that comment. Let's take a look now at the second and third row space, because that's one of the reasons you're going to get one of these big SUVs if you have a lot of people and stuff to haul. So this is definitely important. I like to start with the baby seat situation. So we have lower latch and top tethers here in our second row captain's chairs. In the third row, there is no lower latch whatsoever, which is always a little disappointing. I like to see at least one lower latch position back there. If you got car seats, it's nice to have, more positions, makes it more flexible. So let me climb in now. On paper, this is listed at 41.7 inches of second row legroom, and it's a ton. I fit in here just fine. It's always important to point out that this seat adjusts quite a bit, so all the way back. I mean, I have loads of legroom, and then if there's somebody back there, you can pull forward and offer them more space. So yeah, a nice big second row. I stand at 6'2". Headroom, I have just enough, but I do have enough, so that is the important part. Then when it comes to amenities, we do have the entertainment system here, so I got a nice big screen right up here in front of me. My one complaint about the screens here is that you have to use the HDMI ports to play anything on them, so you have to bring along your own DVD player or your own system, which, yeah, a lot of other brands, you can get Wi-Fi and access different shows just straight through the Wi-Fi, or you can mirror your phone. Cadillac does not do that. I also get full HVAC controls down here and a couple of cup holders right there. And now let's climb in the third row. So these seats fold and tumble, so they really do get right out of the way. And this is listed at just over 34 inches of third row legroom. And it's actually quite a bit as well. Now, of course, this seat could come back, could move forward, but if that's a smaller person, they could give me this much space. I'm totally comfortable back here. In fact, I feel like I have a little bit more headroom back here than I did up there. So yeah, that's really nice. And that's what you want to see out of your full-size SUV, that a full-size adult can get in the third row and not be absolutely cramped. And that's what's going on here. For amenities, I got my own cup holder. I also got my own USB-C port right there, which is handy. And then I get my button here in the wall, which is gonna fold that seat, grab my tether, flip it up, and out I go. So yes, very good passenger space in the Cadillac. So now let's take a look at the Lexus. Again, starting with the baby seat situation, 2 lower latch positions here, 3 top tethers in the second row, but no top tethers and no lower latch in the third row. So essentially, the vast majority of car seats you cannot install in the third row on this Lexus. So now I'll climb in. This is listed at a max of just over 36 inches of second row legroom. And it is enough for me. But in this vehicle, unlike the Cadillac, this seat doesn't adjust. So I can't move forward or back at all. That means that it's going to be up to the front seat passengers to compensate for larger passengers in the second row like myself. But yes, I do fit back here. I have enough legroom. I have quite a bit of headroom, actually. It feels like even more than I had in the Cadillac. Overall, though, the Cadillac felt a little more spacious in its second row. When it comes to amenities, things are pretty similar. I get full HVAC controls down here, USB-C ports. Here's one sort of neat feature. There's a button at the rear of this little hatch, and that's because this is a cool box. It's essentially a little refrigerator, and the button is there so that the second row passengers can open this up, reach forward, and grab a nice cold drink out of there. So that is kind of neat. And then outside of that, the other thing I'll point out, sunshades here in the second row, which were not there in the Escalade. Now let's climb in the third row. And so what's kind of neat is there's these buttons up here on the shoulder. So I'm gonna hold the button down, and first you're gonna see it actually pushes the front seat forward, which is nice. And then I let go of it, and it flops and tumbles forward just like that. And there goes the other one. And now I'll climb back here. So this is listed at just over 31 inches of legroom in the third row, and it's not great. So actually, it's funny, the legroom's not the issue. This floor is so tall. I feel like my knees are up in my chin. This is not a comfortable way to sit at all. I stand at 6'2", but even for, any adult, I feel like you're gonna be absolutely squeezed back here. I do actually have just enough headroom. And then what's nice is this is a power reclining seat. So I can recline a little bit, or I can squeeze myself a little bit more. But yeah, you guys can see this third row, it's just not that spacious, and the floor is way too tall. So overall, talking about passenger comfort, the Cadillac wins that battle by a mile. All right, Lexus, let me out. Let's look at the cargo space now. And first of all, one trick the Escalade has, the glass does open individually from the hatch, so you can reach in and access stuff quickly. Or you can open the hatch by pressing on your Cadillac emblem. And we'll put up the actual numbers here on screen, but the storage here behind the third row is substantial. Even when that's up, you can fit quite a bit of stuff back here. There's a backpack for reference. Underneath this floor, you're getting a little bit of extra storage space too, which is handy. And then of course, you can fold down the third row. These are powered. I gotta say, they're incredibly quick too. That's the quickest power folding seat I've ever seen. And when that third row is down, this is a massive amount of cargo space. So yes, no lack of cargo here in the Escalade. Now let's go look at the Lexus. And essentially it is the exact opposite story. When this third row is in play, you're getting this tiny little storage space. And Lexus puts this tray up here, and that's because, I'll show you, this big box is where the battery lives. So the battery takes up all that space. So they obviously came along and thought, hey, why don't we put this in? That offers customers a little flat floor, but it's ridiculous. Look how small it is. It doesn't make any sense. And then of course you can fold down this third row, which you're pretty much gonna have to do if you want any legitimate storage space. And in stark contrast, That is the slowest folding third row I've maybe ever seen. So the Cadillac seats fold super fast. This is another sort of strange thing Lexus does. You probably noticed. This is your owner's manual. Yes, I know, Lexus, I know. It was mad at me because they weren't all the way down. This is your owner's manual and other documentation. They come in these little pouches, and they're Velcro pouches, so you can just Velcro them to the back of the seat. I don't know, I feel like if I own this, that's the first thing I would take off of there because they're taking up my storage space. So that's a bit of a weird choice too. But yes, with the third row down, you're getting quite a bit more storage, but still significantly less than the Cadillac. The one feature the Lexus has that's way better than the Cadillac is right here. That is a 2400 watt plug. There's a 400 watt plug in the Escalade, but yeah, 2400 watts, that's a real legitimate amount of power. So nice to have the power, but when it comes to storing people and stuff, the Escalade is straight up better. We have to do a quick bit on the doors. Now over here on the Lexus LX, this is just a door like it always has been. But on the Cadillac, these things are pretty cool. These are power assisted doors. So I walk up to my driver's door, just squeeze that handle, and it opens. And yes, there is a minimum standard and maximum setting, so you can set how much it's gonna open. And then what's really cool, if you set the brake to close feature, once I get in, all I'm gonna do is put my foot on the brake, this is gonna close, and I can drive away. Never even had to touch a thing. And away I go. That is pretty neat. Let's talk towing and payload quickly. So back there on the Lexus, you're getting a tow rating of 8,000 pounds. And on our model today, a payload of 1,190 pounds, which is not a great payload number. Let's see how the Cadillac compares. And of course, it has my favorite sticker in the industry, GM's trailering information sticker. You can see it right here, and it tells me that this thing has 7,800 pounds of towing and 1,377 pounds of payload. So yes, the Cadillac has a slightly lower tow rating, but it has more payload. And in the real world, that's honestly probably the combination that you want. All right, folks, now we're out here for a drive. First in the Lexus, and we gotta feel the power. So we are in Sport S Plus, and nail it, Dad, let's feel it. That's pretty nice.
You want me to stop yet?
Oh, go, go, go. It just keeps pulling.
Oh, okay.
Okay, probably stop now.
That's maybe a little too quick.
Before they take your license. Well, I guess what I felt is no turbo lag. It does have a nice smoothness to it, and that's the hybrid setup, right? That's that battery push off the line, and then once the turbos are spooled up, that V6 takes over. It wasn't, it's not insanely quick or anything, but it feels real powerful, and smooth is the word I think I want to focus on.
Made good use of the transmission shifts.
Sure. Yeah, and the 10-speed too. Yeah, banged off those shifts nicely. So yeah, nice to have the power. Now what's interesting is when you go for the hybrid over just the twin-turbo V6 here in the LX, you're only getting 1 mile per gallon better fuel economy according to the EPA. So this is another Toyota case where they say this is not about fuel economy. They didn't put the hybrid in here to save you at the pump.
Nope,
they really put it in here to give you that power and to give you that smoothness. So that's something to definitely be aware of if you're looking at an LX.
Yep, and for those of you who are looking for a quick getaway car, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. So now I'll take you out of Sport S Plus and we'll go into normal mode. Actually, let's go into comfort mode. And that means the suspension is going to adjust. So we have adaptive dampers here, and this is also hydraulically controlled suspension. Unlike the vast majority of systems which are air suspension these days, Lexus actually uses hydraulics. So it's a bit of a different setup. You can adjust the height, which is nice. So just like air suspension, you can put this thing up and down. And I've got to say, Dad, it's super quick going up and especially down. This thing drops and lower and raises way faster than an air suspension system. Not that that truly matters, but it's one of the advantages of going hydraulics. And yeah, now that we're in comfort, I guess speak to me about what you're feeling, because from over here, it definitely gets a lot softer. You put it in sport and it gets nice and tight and firm. You put it in comfort and I can feel it a little more roly-poly. So yeah,
that is one of the key things. A lot of these adaptive, intuitive suspensions claim all these things, and when you're actually driving them, you're like, yeah, I think it's softer, it feels stiffer, but no, with this one, absolutely. Right now, it's in comfy couch mode.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly what it feels like, a big comfy couch. And I say this in so many videos now because we're so spoiled with our new vehicles. There's almost no compromise. You know, you can get an SUV that's this big and heavy, put it in sport mode, and it actually likes going around a corner, or put it in comfort and get that nice soft ride. So yeah, less compromise than ever before.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to miss out when you're buying something big anymore. But then again, look at how much it costs.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will get to the price breakdowns, but before we do, I think we now have to zoom in on this interior, because quite frankly, it feels fine. But you know, in a vehicle this expensive, in this top echelon luxury category, fine is not enough.
It's underwhelming.
It's underwhelming. That's probably a better word for it. Where, you know, you don't get in here and go, whoa, look at that screen. Whoa, look at that whatever feature. Yeah, it just feels pretty normal. And I think one of the most disappointing parts for me, Dad, is the infotainment system. Not just the fact that I don't think it's a great infotainment system. The simple fact that this is the exact same system in a RAV4, in a Tacoma, in any other Toyota model. Lexus just took that same system and put it here. If I'm the Lexus customer who's spending literally $100,000 more than a Tacoma customer or a Corolla or a RAV customer, I don't want the same technology. I want to feel like I got something special and different, and more time and energy went into it, and that's not the case. So your screen in front of you and the center stack here, it's the exact same tech as a cheap Toyota, and yeah, I think that's a mistake on their part. I do believe the Lexus customer wants something different.
You seem to feel very strongly about this.
Yeah, well, again, the simple fact that I don't think it's a great system either. It only shows one piece of info at a time. That's one of my big gripes with it. There's no screen that can show you your radio and your nav. You can only get one thing. And then the nav system isn't great. The voice controls aren't that intuitive. It doesn't understand you a lot of the time. So yes, I definitely think the technology is a big downside here in the Lexus.
No, you're absolutely right.
I think the point we are going to get to, because I can be pretty negative about the Lexus, but on the positive side, it does feel like the money and the engineering here in the LX all went into the off-road adventure part of this, because don't forget that this Lexus LX in other parts of the world is the Toyota Land Cruiser. So that's what the Land Cruiser is known for. And yeah, Dad, we're getting a front locker, not just a rear locker. That's pretty crazy to think. There's also a center locking differential, and that center differential is a limited slip differential. So much technology went into that off-roading, the crawl control, the multi-terrain select. Actually, this is the only Lexus or Toyota hybrid that gets a special water-sealed battery tray for the hybrid battery back there. And they even say there's water sensors inside. So if you do get water inside, it's going to tell you, hey man, get the heck out of the water. No other Toyota hybrids have that. So again, we'll get to the price real soon, but when you look at the prices, you realize that, yeah, the engineering and the price here is not because the technology and the screens and the comfort and the luxury are crazy. It's really because it's combining the luxury with that off-road aspect. So when it comes to the 4x4 technology and the off-road and the adventure part of things, the Lexus is clearly the better vehicle than the Cadillac. But in North America especially, I don't think that's what this customer wants. I don't think that's who this customer is. This customer wants just the most epic, luxurious vehicle they can get with the craziest features, and that's not what this LX feels like.
You're absolutely right, and that cannot be emphasized enough, that this is a vehicle that is considered a luxury vehicle, but the people that buy a luxury vehicle like this in the Middle East or in the Third World or in Africa or in Asia live in places where, never mind going off-road, they're not doing that for fun. Their roads suck. So that's why they buy this, because they want the high-end vehicle, but they also want something that's going to be able to get them through their day-to-day commutes, because they truly, their infrastructure stinks.
Right. Right. So yeah, so they brought out this Overtrail. This is new for 2025. And in fairness to the Lexus, there is a trim level above this, which is their sort of ultra premium model, but it's just not significantly different enough to even sort of warrant putting it in the conversation. And then finally, yeah, Dad, let me spit out the price. This one that we're in here today, this Overtrail LX700H, $149,000 Canadian.
Wow.
Which is slightly cheaper than the Cadillac. And so, yeah, why don't we go jump in the Escalade now and see if it is sort of worth a little bit of extra money. All right, now it's Cadillac time, and Dad, we got a real different powertrain here, naturally aspirated V8. Let's feel it. Whew.
Well, you can certainly hear it.
Oh, it sounds so good. Oh my gosh, does it ever sound good. All right, I don't know, it felt pretty comparable to me. Maybe the Lexus pulled a little harder off the line, but super similar. But yeah, this was just way louder, way more visceral. Sounds like a great big V8.
Yeah, exactly. It lifted its nose. That's the one thing the Lexus didn't do. It stayed more flat.
That's fair.
So, but this was old school.
Yeah, definitely feels old school. But that's the good, I will say actually the positive about the Lexus is you expect a naturally aspirated engine to be smooth. You don't really expect that out of a hybrid turbo, and the Lexus was absolutely smooth power delivery. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say one is better than the other. They felt pretty similar. And I'll actually comment now right off the top on the fuel economy, because here in the Cadillac, we've been getting roughly 14.5 liters per 100, and we've been getting the exact same number in the Lexus, right around 14.5 to 15 liters per 100. So even the fuel economy, even though that's a hybrid, they're almost dead bang on with each other. But I will complain, Dad, about the fuel tank in the Lexus. When I filled that thing up today, the max range that I saw was 450 kilometers, whereas in this Cadillac, max range is 650 roughly. But yeah, about 200 kilometers more. And this is a Toyota problem. All of their hybrids, you know, we just got out of the Tacoma. It's got a small fuel tank. Land Cruiser's got a small fuel tank. This thing's got a small fuel tank. Yeah, with these new generations of Toyotas, they're making the fuel tank smaller, and it's frustrating.
There's obviously an engineering reason for that. At some point, you know what, we'll have to ask them about that, because it's just really about if you're not using the space for the fuel tank, what are you using the space for?
Sure. And yeah, again, day-to-day driving, you know, throughout your week, you're going to notice it a bit. But where you really notice that is on a road trip. If you're driving cross-country, you're stopping that many more times in a vehicle like that Lexus versus this.
Very true.
So now you can talk to me about the drive, and I would say now take it out of sport mode and we can feel the difference, because just like the Lexus, this Cadillac also has adaptive dampers, so it can change its damping force on the fly. It also has magnetic ride control, so it's able to really soften itself up. Now we're in tour mode, they call it over here.
Yeah, which I'm assuming is the soft mode.
Yeah, that's your comfort mode. I mentioned magnetic ride control, but we also have air suspension here, so this is also riding on airbags. Yeah, I guess I'm not sure I'd say this is more or less comfortable. Again, I would say they're pretty similar in terms of the suspension feel as well, right?
It's a bigger vehicle.
Yeah, and does it feel like that for me on the way?
And it feels bigger.
Okay.
And there is a little more of a roll to the body, but it's one of those things like, yeah, you'd expect it to do that, so it doesn't bother me at all.
Fair enough. Yeah, so I guess if you wanted to say sort of in the handling category, yeah, maybe the Lexus is a tick better, but to your point, this is not a sports car category. No one's buying one of these to, you know, return a fun ride through a corner.
No, and I'll tell you what, you're buying it for this. For this,
yeah.
Okay? The space.
Yeah, look at the size of
the
it.
separation. This is my place, that's your place.
Yeah, and we already showed off, you know, the second row and the third row here in the Escalade are quite a bit bigger than the Lexus, and it feels like that up here too. We have more space. And just sort of the way this is all laid out, the dash in that Lexus has a lot going on here in the middle. This is much lower, so it gives this sort of big airy feeling to the cab up here. Yeah, this thing just feels big.
You know, that and the fact that, I mean, you got screen running door to door.
Yeah.
It's, you know, let's get to the heart of the matter. Why would you want to buy this versus that? Because when you get into this thing, you're going to sit down and go, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not doing that in the Lexus.
Yep, this has the wow factor from the, you know, the very moment you walk up to the vehicle and the door opens by itself, and then you get in and the door closes by itself. It's already impressive, and then you see this massive screen, the touch screen down here, the attention to detail in all of this nice knurled metal and this beautiful knob down here. Yeah, it really does impress right off the bat.
Yep, exactly, and I've said this before, at this price point, yes, we get through the, you know, does it drive right, what's the power like, everything else, but then, man, you reach a certain threshold where now it's all about the wow factor, and that's what Cadillac knows, that's their business, and this thing has got it in spades.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, speaking on four-wheel drive, we do have 4 low here, so you still have a transfer case. You have 4 high. The one setting we get here that you don't get over there is 4 auto. And I like the auto settings. I think they make a lot of sense. Set it and forget it, right? Put it in 4 auto. If you don't need it, the vehicle will run in 2-wheel drive. If it senses slip, like on a snowy day, it'll send the power where it needs to be. So while overall, again, the Lexus is much better for adventure and off-roading, it's still nice to see the 4 auto setting over here and 4 low. Always nice to have that T case just in case you do need it.
No, you're absolutely right. And that all comes down to, you know, again, this is a North American centric vehicle.
Right.
Your auto setting is for the snowy, slushy day when all of a sudden it gets slippery and it's in auto already.
Yeah.
You don't need to think about it.
Right.
And it'll save your ass on a curve, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
So we might as well kind of get to the heart of the matter already, which is that this Escalade here in Canada is $159,000. So as they're equipped today, we're talking about a $10,000 difference. So this is more expensive. So obviously you expect a little bit more for the money. But at first blush, first of all, I think the customer who's spending 150 grand on an SUV probably doesn't care about the 10 grand. And second of all, if I'm spending money in this echelon, this is what I want. So even though it's $10,000 more expensive, I get in here and go, yeah, I think it's actually worth every penny, because this truly is something special where the Lexus just doesn't feel like that, at least in the interior and sort of at first glance.
Yeah, if you're the Lexus customer, you're probably taking more of a nod towards long-term reliability.
Sure.
Whereas, you know, we can get into a whole discussion about buying versus leasing, but I would guess that the great majority of this Escalade buyer is a lease guy.
Sure.
And so if you're leasing for 3 years, that's not really a concern, is it? You know?
Yeah, that's also a very fair point. We always look at that overall price, but if you're just worried about your monthly, well then, yeah, it's not going to hit you as hard as shelling out all that money all at once. And yeah, I think we do need to bring it up, talking about reliability. General Motors just recalled, over 100,000 of these 6.2 liter V8s. Now, for 2025, and this applies to all models, these engines have already been fixed. So because this is a 25, this one's not affected by the recall. But just knowing that they had that massive recall doesn't make you feel great about it. And yes, Toyota also just recently had a massive engine recall, so it's not like they're immune. The difference is Toyota issued that recall after a very small number of engine failures being reported in the field. General Motors, on the other hand, issued their recall after over 14,000 engine failures. And this is something we talk about a lot, and I do think it needs to be said. Toyota, they have issues like other automakers too. I don't think they're immune to these problems, but they feel like they handle it better. It feels like they try to get out in front of their problems and just fix them right away, where it feels like the majority of American domestic automakers, they wait until the very last second when essentially the government steps in and forces them to do the recall. So I guess that's a long way of saying, when it comes to reliability, I do believe the Toyota and Lexus products will be better. Well, folks, we have arrived at the end of this one, and after driving them both, it is clear these are very different vehicles for very different customers. If you value that adventurous spirit and some real serious 4x4 engineering, the Lexus is the obvious choice, but for just about everything else, you gotta go with the Cadillac. And if I was laying my money on the line, I'm definitely taking the Escalade. It just has that over-the-top wow factor that you should get out of a vehicle that is this expensive. Plus the second and third rows are just so comfortable. So yeah, that's it for this one. But now, of course, I need to hear from you. Drop it in the comments. Let me know which one would you buy. And as always, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we're testing next. See ya.